Braves ended their two-game losing streak today with a 5-2 win over the Mariners, moving to 20-9 on the season. Big series with the Los Angeles Dodgers coming up. Hello and welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm Jurjevich. Joining me this evening is the voice of the Rome Emperors, the PA voice of the Rome Emperors, Larry Gardner, and our fabulous producer, Wayne Ridenauer in Memphis, Tennessee. You can catch us all on social media at ATL Prime Sports, Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and Apple and Spotify as well. Personal Twitters at JJ Get You One for myself, at RWI Jr. for Wayne, at LG for Real Though for Larry, and at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder, who is out tonight, not feeling very well. So thoughts go out to Todd. Hopefully he gets well soon. I'm doing well, guys. I'll start this thing off. I'm doing better than Mike Trout's left meniscus. The Angel Star center fielder tore it. And the weird part is he doesn't know when he tore it. He's just a tough son of a gun. Played through it, it seems like, for a couple days. Surgery is expected to happen this Friday, according to a source close to the team. A timetable for his return is not set, but a source also said close timetable for this surgery is about 4 to 6 weeks. So he is expected to play again in 2024, which is pretty good news. Larry, how are you, man?
Doing well, JJ. Thank you for asking, man. Things are winding down here. The school year got award ceremonies going on left and right. Kids getting ready for spring football practices that are going on up here in the high school area. A lot of things getting ready to turn the calendar toward the summer, and I'm looking forward to it. You know, the summer means baseball and the starting the clock towards college football season, so it's right around the corner. But doing well, sir. Thank you for asking.
Wayne, how about you, man?
Well, I'm not doing quite as well as Elliot Perry, who is apparently going to be leaving Lane College, SAAC school, and joining the Memphis Tigers on the bench there, coaching the team. So we will have two former point guards for the University of Memphis on the coaching staff there next year.
Yeah, going from the Dragons of Lane College to the Tigers of Memphis. So pretty cool. And that's awesome to always have a former player and alumnus back on the staff. What's on tap for today's show? We will be talking about the news out of Birmingham, where UAB football program is making many moves. What does it mean for college football? Our grades on the Atlanta Falcons draft, and Max Fried is back for sure now. We talked the latest with the Atlanta Braves right here on ATL Prime Sports. Let's kick things off in Birmingham, talking about the UAB football team, who becomes the first team to join a players' association. What do you think this means for the future of college football? Larry, we'll start with you, buddy.
Well, I think it can mean one of three things. The players in the NCAA can all opt into doing this, which is going to put the chips into the hands of the regulators of the NCAA, who can then say, well, then you're no longer a student athlete, you're just a employee, or you are going to work for your education, so then they can make them pay for their education. It can also be detrimental to kids who are on a college football team but are not good enough to warrant NIL money, which is what I think is going to be the most detrimental part of this whole thing. I think it's going to be, it's a monumental decision already, but I do believe that it's going to be the catalyst that starts a domino effect of a lot of things that will take away college football from being an amateurism sport any longer, and it will be semi-pro, to say the least, which it really kind of has been. It's kind of been a minor league football, if you want to call it that. But I think this is the beginning of something huge and monumental in the college football landscape, JJ.
Yeah, it is monumental. Right now, it doesn't seem very monumental because it's just one team, and most people are like, "Oh, it's the UAB Trailblazers. It's not even Alabama." Blah blah blah. But much of like you said, Larry, this is going to force things. If more teams jump on this, and the news is basically this: UAB football players were they had a meeting in early April. They were informed by Coach Trent Dilfer to sign this. It was athletes.org is the organization and the Players Association that they joined. And basically, it's just saying, hey, in the future, Trent Dilfer saying in the future, this could happen, and you guys better be ready for it. And here's the thing. I think this is a political move for Trent Dilfer in terms of keeping his job longer, getting bigger recruits, and looking better. But just like you said, Larry, the guys that aren't the 5 stars, the 4 stars, the 3 stars, that have a home everywhere in college football, these guys are going to sign this agreement and basically become, lack of a better term, employees or pro athletes. So if you're not performing to the standard of your scholarship, see ya. You're an employee now. We can fire you. And so I don't know how good that is for a student athlete where less than 1% of these people make the professional level of football. And I'm sticking with just football in this category. So to me, when you sign that dotted line, student athletes, NCAA competitors all over the country, perk your ears up to this. You may be doing yourself a non-favor because you may be getting yourself into deeper-ish, because if you're not good enough for that scholarship, that coach can easily move on from you. Whereas your scholarship is guaranteed as long as you play it out and you're on the team, you meet all the academic requirements. They're not going to, they may replace it, but there's going to be a spot for you. So to me, this is a slippery slope for all student athletes. Again, Larry, you nailed the first 3 on the head. You're basically, the NCAA is going to be forced to come to terms with these things very quickly, and they have the lawyers and the money to combat this issue. It's going to be honestly chaos. It's going to be organized chaos, because the biggest thing to me is, again, these student athletes, it may seem good to get some money up front. And yes, that is good. NIL is good. I like what NIL stands for. But the fact is, if this goes into play, if this comes into play, I should say, let's go back and look at players that never touch the field and see what they feel about this, because they're the ones that are going to be affected the most. The ones that get the scholarships, lose the scholarships, and then don't get to play anywhere else because they were collectively bargained for. So very, very interesting take here. Wayne, what you got on this subject, man? Your thoughts, good, bad, ugly, for college football?
Well, I got a feeling at this point, UAB is just the canary in the coal mine. They're going to see what all happens with it and see if there's any positive benefits, or if they get anything positive out of it. And if they do, I imagine that, it'll be conference wide in the American Athletic Conference, because they'll all want to get on there and use that as some kind of recruiting tool. But, I'll probably still watch the sports and stuff, but it'll always be in my mind there that, I'm watching pretty much semi-professional instead of guys trying to either get an education or trying to showcase themselves for the next level of their sport.
Yeah, it's getting to be just a lot of moving parts. Used to just be college football on the surface of it all, of course. But yeah, it's really interesting, guys. Larry, final thought on this before we move on?
Well, I got a couple of final thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead.
First and foremost is, let's take what we just got through witnessing last week with the NFL draft. And you got 250 kids that are looking to fulfill their dreams and move to the next level. However, they are now collectively bargained for. So all the negotiations would now take place between their agent and the NFL team. There may not necessarily even be pro days anymore. You know, they may have, I don't necessarily want to call it pro days. I mean, because they're still going to have the combine, but the way deals will be constructed will be a whole lot different if college football teams, because all it's going to take is for one Power 5 team to do this, and it will light the proverbial fuse to blow everything else up. Now, what also will come into play are your secondary and tertiary sports, like your college basketball, your college baseball, you know, women's college basketball and baseball, and all of the sub sports from that tree. How's the conversation gonna go? Because the institution and the president for the institution or the AD for the athletic departments are not going to be like, hey, we want you to do this. So kids are going to be left with a decision. You know, I want to get to the next level. This is my best route. What do I do if I don't want to be a part of this? Because it's gonna leave out an entire country full of kids that are good enough to play Division I, Power 5 college football, but at the same time may not necessarily be good enough to warrant that type of NIL money and being collectively bargained for. So it perplexes the mind, because if everybody does do this, what happens between the exchange between college and professional? Because you're technically already a pro.
Yeah, well said there. And to piggyback on your point, folks, let's go look at the revenue sharing portion of the collective bargaining agreement. And that's basically what Trent Dilfer was telling his team is, you know, we're getting, you're doing this, they're making this. Why can't we make this because they're making this? And I know that sounds like hoopla, but basically college football makes a lot of money because of the viewership of all around it, and it pays for other sports. Ladies and gentlemen, if everybody in every sport starts signing these CBAs, the revenue sharing portion of college baseball will be minuscule. I mean, talking pennies. Maybe a couple $100 you might make over a period of a year. Because if you're talking about sharing profits, buddy, there's only one or two profitable sports that are colleges, and that's men's basketball and football, okay? So if you sign on that dotted line, college kids, you may be shooting yourself in the foot from an NIL deal that could have made you more money personally by your own doing. So this is going to be very interesting and intriguing down the line. And Larry, you made a great point. What does this do for pro days? How does this work? How do pro teams go about getting in touch with the athlete? They're going to already have agents. You know, head coaches, who cares what the head coach has to think? I'll just talk to his agent. So, yeah, there's a whole can being opened up on this subject that we don't even know about yet. And it's going to continue to finger for months on end if more teams start piling up. Now, according to that ESPN.com article where I read this UAB information, sounds like a couple thousand students have already signed up on athletes.org from various sports and various Power 5 conferences and other things like that. So the movement's there, and it's very interesting because, again, you sign that dotted line, you're basically a pro, and they can treat you as such because you're an employee. And if you're not living up to that standard, you can get canned. And then you may want to think, folks, you may want to go look at how much your sport makes. Let's say you are a tennis player at UGA, very good program, made the tennis tournament like 40 years in a row or something. It's absolutely crazy. You're not going to get that much money in a bargaining agreement because your sport isn't as popular as the football on Saturdays. So It's just it's the world we live in, guys. I'm not for or against it. I'm just saying I don't know if it's the best for younger athletes who want to get that pro life and that pro experience, but may not want to do it at the price that these coaches are saying, hey, you should do this. So I don't know. That's why I say politicking's involved. It's a lot of moving parts in this thing, guys. Any final thoughts on this before we move on, Larry or Wayne?
Well, all I've got to say is
JJ, it could be. Go ahead, Wayne. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it's gonna make things kind of weird for the walk-on people. I'll tell you that.
That's true, Larry.
Yeah, man, it's going to look. I'm thinking in my head it's going to be a lot like the Live Golf versus the PGA Tour thing that started a couple of years ago. You know, are you going to be one that signs the dotted line and goes this route, or are you just going to try to find a school and not participate in that and go the traditional student athlete route and see if it pays off for you long term that way? You know, who knows? But you're going to be, if it continues this progress, you're going to be forced to make a choice.
Yeah, it's really interesting. This is an unprecedented story, if you ask me. We could go back 10. We could flash forward 15 years and come back to this day, May 1st, 2024, when this story broke earlier the week. So we'll say late April of 24, and go right there. That UAB team signing this, it could be a part of sports history down the road. Time will tell. Guys, great points all around. If you like the content, folks, please give us a like and a subscribe. It's free. Hit the notification button so you get notified when our latest videos are. Again, at ATL Prime Sports on all social medias. Let's go from the NCAA to the NFL. Now that the dust has settled from the NFL draft, what are your thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons draft? Larry, I'm anxious to hear your thoughts because last week we were talking defense. Will McFadden said, hold your horses. There's a pretty good chance they could take a quarterback, but I still think they'll go defense. And then they made us all look like idiots and took Michael Penix Jr. Your grade and thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons draft?
My overall grade is a C+. My thoughts on it, and the reason I gave it that grade, is because now that the dust has settled, we now know what all Terry Fontenot was trying to do in rounds 1 and 2. He was literally trying to explode the bag. He wanted to get Penix regardless. That was going to be it. But he tried trading back up into the first round 2 times to get Laiatu Latu. So he knew in his head he had 3 things that he was going to try to do and make big time splashes. He was going to get Penix, he was going to get his edge rusher, and he was going to get his corner. And when that didn't happen, then he had to go to plan B and plan C. And overall, even though the entirety of Falcons Nation is ready to grab their torches and pitchforks and head up the flowery branch, I understand the issue. My thought, and I'll pose this to both of y'all. If Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke was not the quarterback and you had somebody that was proficient enough to get the job done, are the Falcons a playoff team currently as constructed?
Yeah, I think last year, if you're talking about last year, yeah, I think if they get, heck, I'll be honest with you, if you take 4 turnovers away from Desmond Ridder, I really think the Falcons are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're winning the South. They're hosting the playoff game. And Arthur Smith is still the head coach, and we're talking about Desmond Ridder or Heineke. I'm right there with you. There's a couple people out there, Larry, that still think the Falcons were the best team in the division last year. They just didn't get good quarterback play. So you're right there.
So that being said, drafting Michael Penix along with signing Kirk Cousins, make sure that you're not in a position to where in the worst case scenario that Kurt is not ready to play by week 1, you got somebody that can do it, and is going to be in a position to where he's not going to have to hurry himself to be ready. He's going to have a good year or two to sit and learn. At a number 8 pick, I know most people, the conventionalists, want you to have somebody that is going to be an impact player right away. But I want to give you another example that's very familiar to Falcons fans. Coming off of a Super Bowl loss, you went into the next season, and your star running back tears his ACL for the entire year, and Chris Chandler is left trying to figure out how in the world he can make something out of nothing. The following draft, the Falcons turn around and select Michael Vick. Michael Vick sits on the sidelines, and the people are clamoring, put him in the game, put him in the game, put him in the game. They put him in the game. He's not ready. He looks good with the legs. He's not accurate with the arm. He's overthrowing receivers. He's just not there, but he's exciting to watch. Regardless of what Michael Penix does, if he stays healthy, he's going to help put butts back in the seats at Mercedes-Benz, because he's going to be exciting to watch playing alongside the likes of Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. Defensively, I know people don't like Aurora, but guess what? He's going to help fill a need with Grady Jarrett coming back off of an ACL. The plan was not executed like they wanted to, but what they got in a plan B and plan C scenario, I'm telling Falcons people, this team should win 11 or 12 games. If everybody stays where they are, they get one more corner, which they have the ability to do. Atlanta Falcons should win the NFC South. They should win at least the first round and either wild card or divisional round. For me, this season should be NFC Championship or bust. And I'm going to leave it at that for this point.
Hey, I like the assessment. I love the player, Michael Penix. I just did not like him at 8. I like the future of the quarterback position, and I hate grading grades. But for the assignment of the class, I will grade this draft, and I will give it a really tough. I hate giving the D because I don't like judging drafts prior to them touching the field. I'll go C. I'll just go to flat out C. Dead even C. And I love the player, Michael Penix. He broke his own passing record at Washington, 4,600 yards, then 4,900 yards, holding his ribs at the end of that national championship game. Do not question his toughness whatsoever. What I do question was the ability to help your team this year with that number 8 overall pick. And if you help your team this year, you're immediately better. Whereas this pick doesn't help you for a minimum of 2 years. And if everything goes right, to me, it's a lose-lose draft pick. Because here's the deal, guys. Unintentionally, the Falcons just started a clock on Kirk Cousins, whether they like it or not. Remember in Green Bay, Jordan Love was drafted. Everybody was laughing at Green Bay, la-da-da-da-da. Look at us now. Now they look pretty smart with Jordan Love. But it started the clock on Aaron Rodgers. And that's what the Falcons just did with Kirk Cousins. They started, in my opinion, an unnecessary clock that they could have probably started next season, because there's pretty good draft quarterback class in the next year's class as well. But I do get it. They don't expect to be picking that high, yada, yada, yada. I get it. I do like Arojo out of Clemson. The Falcons have had some success with Clemson defensive tackles, obviously Grady Jarrett being one of them. Braylon Trice out of Washington, Penix's teammate, great edge rusher. I think that's the bargain of the draft. The defensive tackle back to Clemson, he has great intangibles. Not so fast on the 40, but he's quick on the side on the cone drill. I love JT Burton out of Notre Dame, the linebacker. He's a Blessed Trinity guy, so a local guy coming back home. And hey, Falcons fans, We got a Bulldog. They
Yeah.
got a Bulldog in the 6th round, folks. Zion Logue, defensive tackle out of Georgia, got a lot of size. I love the running back Jace McClellan out of Alabama with the loss of Cordell Patterson, but I'm gonna draft it a C, mainly because of the Penix pick. Again, I love Penix the player. I think he's the most NFL ready quarterback in this draft. I also think he shows a lot of leadership capability. Winning games at Indiana is tough to do, and he was able to do that. So I also want to say this. Look, again, with the drafting thing, guys, in 2016, the year the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, they got a terrible draft grade as well. But look what happens 4 years after that first draft. Vic Beasley looked like a great pick, leading the NFL in sacks his rookie year. And we all know the rest. The rest of the guys fell in perfectly. They got the corner out of LSU in that draft. Again, he had performance-enhancing drug problems, but he was a pretty good player in the Super Bowl. His name is slipping, tall cornerback. But again, that draft looked terrible up front. So that's why I like holding off on grades. I'm going to hold my breath and say this draft class has a real chance to prove me wrong, because Braylon Trice is a great player. Arohoho out of Clemson's one of the better defensive tackles, according to Mel Kiper. A lot of the Pro Football Focus guys, they had him about late second round. Falcons moved up and got him. So I think the reaching part is what a lot of people are holding the draft grades down. Again, I think the C's a perfect score there, because look, if they would have moved back into the first round like we all know they were trying to now and gotten Latu, boy, this draft might have been completely different. But they did their due diligence. They addressed all their needs, and they even got a Casey Washington out of Illinois late in the draft as well in the 6th round. I like that pick. Big, tall guy, goes up and gets the football, kind of fits the description of the Falcons receivers right now. So anxious to see how it plays out. But yeah, to me, again, the biggest issue, it's a lose-lose in my opinion with the Penix draft pick, because you started an unnecessary time clock. And the mentality of Kirk Cousins honestly kind of came through, in my opinion, through his agent. They were blindsided by the pick, they said. So we'll see how that plays out. But Kirk Cousins is a pro's pro. I think he'll be just fine. But the real problem is, guys, and the biggest question, and I'll throw it to, we'll get Wayne's opinion, and I'll let Larry answer this question, is what happens if, let's say, year 3, everything goes superb, and the Falcons are having a parade in Atlanta, and we're coming back for a possibly repeat season on Kirk Cousins' 4th-year deal? Do you pick up Penix's 5th-year option without having seen him play any necessary meaningful snaps? So that's something I throw to you, Larry. But Wayne, give us a grade on your draft, and you can answer the question too, man. Are we starting an unnecessary time clock?
Well, I don't know about the time clock thing, but I know I would have liked that Penix pick a little bit better if he had won that Natty. But he's an excellent player, and I'll always be an Atlanta Falcons fan. I mean, if I can go through some of the terrible coaches that ended up in Arkansas, I can make it through this. So it's not going to bother me all that much.
Larry, answer the question,
No, I
man.
see
Did
where
we
you're coming
start an
from, Wayne.
unnecessary
Yeah.
time clock?
No, I don't think we started an unnecessary time clock. And the player's name that you were trying to get earlier was Jalen Collins. I know him very
Collins,
well
thank
because
you.
I had a Mark man on my list. He always has been since those days. But that's neither here nor there. I don't think we've started an unnecessary time clock. I think Terry Fontenot's plan is masterful when it comes to this, because the majority of what is owed to Kirk Cousins is paid this year. If he is not playing up to par, moving a soon-to-be 36, 37-year-old quarterback who's only going to be owed about $25 million will be a piece of cake to do. So you could literally cut him for dead money if you had to. I think the perfect scenario that the Falcons are looking at is Cousins plays here 2-3 years tops. Penix if worst case scenario, if he plays 2 seasons and you got to pick up a 5th-year option, that's not bad, because if quarterbacks take care of themselves, as we see with Kirk Cousins, they're playing to almost 40 years old. So if Penix only plays his first season at 27, but then he plays for 13 years, is that a problem? Not exactly, So it's a moving parts here, but I think realistically, you got to expect Kirk Cousins to play 2, maybe 3 years tops. But in the event that he doesn't play up to par, you've got an easy out to where you can start the future with Penix sooner rather than later.
I do like that. I do like that aspect, and that's why I withhold any ill will towards the draft, because, again, this could be an A-plus draft. These guys could all be Hall of Famers, and the Falcons go 3-peat, and we're all just eating crow here. So on our draft grades. So, yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I love the transition. I love the future aspect of Penix. I also think what hasn't been talked about a lot, but we're going to talk about it on ATL Prime Sports right now, folks, is the tampering allegations. They made Doc. The NFL made Doc Atlanta a first-round draft pick next year. And that may have been another reason why they said, maybe we can go get a quarterback this year. So that may have been another aspect in this whole thing. They may know something that we don't, that they're going to take a draft pick, a high draft pick next year. And that's when Atlanta may have gone and said, hey, you know what, maybe we can move up into the mid-tier first rounds, get Carson Beck out of Georgia, who might be a top draft pick next year, or Sanders out of Colorado. So there's some pretty big NFL quarterback prospects in next year's draft, but I like it. I like getting the guy now, and that might have something to do with it. We'll get Will McFadden on here in the next coming weeks or so, and I'll ask him just that question. I said, do you think, Will, that next year with the pending possible loss of a draft pick, did that have something to do with the Penix draft? But again, I don't like to grade these things. I'm doing it for the assignment. C on the draft. Love Michael Penix, the player. I also think the succession plan for Matt Ryan, there was none. So I think that has something to do with it here. So, and remember, Raheem Morris was there for part of the end of Matt Ryan's career as an assistant under Quinn. So it's going to be real interesting moving forward, guys. I can't wait to see what Michael Penix does in a Falcons uniform. He did look cool, calm, and collected when he got the call. The white sunglasses looked pretty fly. And big guy, 6'3", 220-ish pounds, right around there, can move. And he'll have a year or two to get completely healthy, which is, awesome. And learn from one of the better quarterbacks in the league currently, in Kirk Cousins. Guys, any final thoughts on the Falcons draft? Wayne, Larry?
No.
Let's move on, guys.
Looking forward to training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost training camp. The NFL timeline, man, they do a wonderful job, folks. They do. That's why they're the number one professional sports league in the world, because you get the Super Bowl in February. You get about a month and a half of nothing, and you get about a month and a half of everything with mock draft 1.0 to 175 from Mel Kiper and ESPN. And in April, it happens. Then in mid-June, you get some OTAs with the rookies. Then July, training camp comes in. And then bada bing, bada boom, the Hall of Fame game. They are just extremely smart with their timeline of events for the season. Moving from the National Football League to Major League Baseball, we'll cover some other teams that drafted well maybe next week, because I think we all kind of know those. I wanted to stick Atlanta Falcons. But, yeah, moving to Major League Baseball last week, I said I needed to see one more good start from Max Fried. Well, Max Fried gave me that great start. And the Braves are now, 7-3 or something like that in their last 10 games? Are they the best team in Major League Baseball right now? And if not, which team is? Wayne, we'll ask you, man. Do you think the Braves are the best, or do you think it's the team that has a little bit more wins than them but is behind them in the standings in the Philadelphia Phillies? Who do you got?
Well, I'm so focused on Texas early in the season. It's hard for me to get really wrapped up in the Braves, and apparently it may be harder to do that in the future, but that's part of your final thought.
Yeah, man, that Bally Sports thing, that is really chapping my arse. And excuse my language, but well, yeah, that will be my final thought. That is crazy, but yeah, no, I think the Braves are the best team, Larry. I'll get your opinion in a second. I do. Look, they are winning. They've won. They're 20-9, as I mentioned, after their 5-2 win today. Sale pitched 5 pretty good scoreless innings there. But look, they're not getting the production at the top of the lineup that they got last year from Ronald Acuna Jr. He's only hitting 252 after today's 2-hit game. And then you got Riley, who's not hitting up to the back of his baseball card at 235. Matt Olson is in a slump beyond all slumps, hitting at 206 right now. But again, look at the last 7 days for these guys. I mean, they are just slumping hard, and Atlanta's still winning. And they're doing it with everybody picking up everybody. But again, Acuna, 2 for 24 in his last 7 days. 12 Ks going into today's game, obviously. 2 for 19 for Olson with 6 Ks. Riley, 3 for 24 with 8 Ks. The Braves only had 2 or 3 games last year where they struck out more than 10 times or 10 or more times last year. They've already had a couple of those this year. So this is not the same team hitting-wise as it was last year. Kevin Seitzer's going to have to get this team going, especially these 3, because the Braves cannot depend on this type of baseball from everybody else and their big 3 not be pulling their own weight. But the pitching's been great. I mentioned it. I wanted to see one more good start from Max Fried to take away from the first 2 terrible starts of the season, and he'd even say that. He got you. So he's pitched 15 straight scoreless innings. He had a no-no through 6. He was perfect through 3 or 4 last night. So, or the other day, excuse me. And look, the Braves and Mariners, look, Bryce Miller was perfect through 6 or 7 innings the other day. So what a pitching duel that was. But yeah, I saw what I needed to see from Max Fried. Ronaldo Lopez is really spinning the rock lately. Been a real strength at the back of that rotation. Charlie Morton's doing his thing. And Chris Sale, underlining MVP for this team. The innings he has got, he's looked like he's really turned back the corner of turned back the page in time and moved back. He's looking good. He's an effective left-handed pitcher, and look, he's getting deep into games. He's finding ways to win ball games, and that's why this team has won 20 games, because of that pitching staff and guys like Chadwick Trump, who's coming in for Sean Murphy and getting good hits and good ABs, and then Luis Guillermo coming in for Ozzie Albies for the 4 or 5 day stint on the IL. It's just unbelievable the production this team is getting. And guys who are platooning like Kelnick and Duvall. Travis d'Arnaud had a sweet couple days in a row where he hit 4 or 5 home runs in a couple days, 3 in 1 game. So this team is getting production from the guys that aren't normally producing it. And Ozzie Albies is same old, same old. He's having a career year, so that's nothing near here or there. But the big 3, when they pick it up, boy, I tell you what, this team will prove to me and to many others why they're going to be the best team in baseball when it's all said and done. Larry, what say you, man? Are they the best team in baseball right now? And if not, give me another team who is.
No, you already proven the point in several different ways. It is the Braves, and the rest of the major league should fear this point. If the Braves are 20-9 with just Travis d'Arnaud, Michael Money Harris, Marcell Ozuna, the occasional sprinkling in of Jared Kelnick, Orlando Arcia, and Chadwick Trump, they ought to be shaking in their jock straps that Ronald Acuna, Matt Olson, and Austin Riley, if they get hot, you're going to see a streak like what you saw last year where they're going to start beating people and the game is going to be over in the first or second inning. And I think overall, league-wide, there's an issue. And I think, I can't prove it yet. I've been just piecing together my argument. But both of you can comment on this. When was the last time you saw a major league hitter make a baseball explode more than once? To
Can't
me,
recall it.
that tells me that tells me I believe something. I believe the baseballs are different this year. They can say whatever they want to, but I can't even remember in the last 30 years of watching baseball where I've seen more bats shatter than I've seen balls explode. And I've seen way more balls explode this season than I have bats shatter. That tells me, hey, something is going on with the balls, because I've seen balls that Matt Olson and Austin Riley both, that if they had hit them last year, they'd be out of either the chop house or over on the Home Depot deck in Truist Park. And they're just dying in left field or in right field. So to me, I think their hitting woes have a lot to do with something that's going on with the baseball. And that may sound crazy, but I do believe it.
No, I have mentioned it on this podcast. You've been on this a little over a year now. I've mentioned this for about 2 years. They, as in Major League Baseball, need to stop tweaking baseballs, because I agree with you. In the Guardians series, sorry, folks, the Guardians series, Matt Olson hit one like 111 miles an hour off the bat. And they did it. They did StatCast on it, and they're like, this is a homer if it's not blowing 11 miles an hour dead. I go, it's not like it was a damn 25-mile-an-hour wind. It was an 11-mile-an-hour gust, meaning when the ball was hit, it was probably blowing about 7 miles an hour, gusting upwards of 11. That ball still should have gotten out. Larry, I agree with you. I've seen enough balls this year, and the sound off the bat's like, oh, that ball was exploded. Oh, that ball, the launch angle was perfect. 114 off the bat, warning track. And you're like, huh. And it's happened all around the league. I am well aware that you can go do the research, folks. There's plenty of evidence. Trevor Bauer has said they changed the balls, and it affected the way he was pitching for a season or two a couple of years ago. It's very eye-opening. Larry, that's a good point, because there's a couple of those balls. I really thought they were leaving the park too. So, Larry, you made me on to something there. Wayne, you got any comments on the possible dead balls?
Well, as soon as somebody said balls exploding, all I could think about was Kansas City and Bo Jackson, and that's got nothing to do with the subject y'all are talking about.
Oh, man. Larry, you're spot on, though, buddy. Major League Baseball needs to stick with a certain ball. And I know in Colorado they humidify the balls because the air's so thin and this and that. I get the special exception in Denver with the air so thin. But everywhere else, let's keep the balls the same. Let's mud it with the Delaware River or whatever mud they use from Delaware. Just keep sticking. Put a little sticky stuff on the ball. I don't care, as long as the pitchers can control it. And the ball, when it's smashed, it goes over the fence, because that is exciting for everyone in baseball. Guys, your final thoughts on the Braves or Major League Baseball? And Wayne, give us that correction once we're done here moving in. You said you wanted to correct something. Go ahead if we're all done with Major League Baseball.
Yep. Well, the correction is it's Andre Turner, who is the new assistant coach at Memphis, coming from Lane College, not Elliot Perry. Those are both former point guards. There are a lot of great former point guards from the University of Memphis, and that's probably why I got it fouled up there. But it's Andre Turner who's going to be leaving Lane College and coming to Memphis.
Andre Turner leaving the Dragons for the Tigers. Good correction there. And we'll go to our final thought. And we're going to be harping on this one, probably underlining jokes for a while. But, hey, Major League Baseball, stop this TV blackout nonsense. We know you can fix it. Comcast dropped Bally Sports late last night, and thousands of Braves fans won't be able to watch their team for the foreseeable future. Get with the networks, Major League Baseball. Do what the NFL did and stop blacking out games in local areas. If you buy the MLB package, don't matter if you're in the heart of Atlanta. If you buy the MLB package and that's how you're going to consume your Atlanta Braves, by gum, you should be able to watch it and pay your money and sit in Statesboro, Georgia, or Hartwell, Georgia, or right here where I am in Lilburn, Georgia, and you should be able to watch the Braves to your heart's content. You should be able to get on-demand games. You should be able to do that because that's what the NFL does. And let me tell you, folks, there's plenty of people that want to just watch day baseball during the day and this and that. Major League Baseball can find a way to fix this. And the simplest way is when you buy that MLB app and you buy the package, you get every damn game. Don't matter about blackouts. Get those things out of here because, look, too many people are going to be affected by this Xfinity and Comcast dropping Bally Sports. And Wayne, your mother's affected, yep. And it's ticking me off because she won't be able to watch your Braves.
Yeah, well, she's already scheming on workarounds, and we'll see what she comes up with.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Wayne, what's your final thought, man? We'll have Larry send us off.
Well, that final thought was that correction on the new situation with the assistant coach in Memphis there with Andre Turner, and that's about it.
I like it. Well, the correction is made. Larry, your final thought for the night, my friend.
If y'all want to watch the Braves, I know a guy.
Oh,
I know a guy.
Well, I'll send my mom your information, and y'all can hook up on your triple satellite feed, bouncing off some submarines up in the Arctic or something.
3 letters. Look. If you want to know, hit me up on Twitter, on X, LG, for real, though. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Y'all even get me legalized. Anyway, final thought has to go with the NBA playoffs. The Phoenix Suns, who had bought themselves quite the team, have gotten themselves expelled. Are we seeing the end of the super team in the NBA? The teams that are continuing to win, the Minnesota Timberwolves, with a proven point guard, a budding superstar in Ant-Man, 2 Twin Towers, and Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. You got your Joker and Nikola Jokic at Denver with Jamal Murray and MPJ. Teams that are built and constructed the right way with depth, with at least one key star and a good Robin. Are we seeing the end of the super team era? We only can figure it out. I'm telling y'all right now, one of the best things about the NBA playoffs is anybody has a chance to win if they're not corrected with a super team. Y'all, I think Denver's going to win it again.
Yeah.
It's all because of Nikola Jokic. And that's my final thought.
I love it. Larry, great point. I agree with you. I think the super team is fading out. And I think good teams, like you said, built with team in mind. Hey, we need this guy to get this. We need that guy to get this because he's going to get that. And look, a guy that fits in perfectly in Denver's schemes, Aaron Gordon, man. Love watching that guy play, just does the dirty work. It's fun to watch Jokic as well. The Joker's just doing the Joker things. And, man, it's been a fun NBA playoffs. They are my NBA champion pick as well, Larry. And very good point for your final thought. Folks, again, if you like the content, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and follow us at ATL Prime Sports on all social medias. That concludes the show. Pretty good one tonight, if you ask me. For Wayne in Memphis, Larry in Adairsville, Todd in Woodstock, who's not with us this evening, I'm JJ in Lilburn. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week and get you one. Oh, yeah, next week, stay tuned. We're going to be live on social media. I don't know if we're doing Twitter or Facebook yet, but stay tuned to our social medias, and we are going to do a live show sometime next week. We'll keep you posted. But that's it, guys. We'll see you. Get you one.